Jonathan Reed had been driving for the Whitmore family for nearly 5 years. He was punctual, respectful, and discreet, which made him a trusted figure in the household. The Whitmores were one of the most influential families in the city, with business ties that stretched across the country. Mr. Whitmore, a well-dressed, calculating man in his late 50s, spent most of his time away on business trips. His wife, Rebecca, was younger, elegant, and always the center of attention at charity galas and luncheons. Jonathan had always admired Rebecca from a respectful distance. She carried herself with a grace that was effortless yet commanding. Every time he opened the car door for her, he caught the soft fragrance of her perfume, subtle but unforgettable. He never allowed his admiration to become anything more. It was inappropriate, and he valued his job. But things began to change during one particularly quiet summer. Mr. Whitmore was gone more than ever, his trips extending from weeks to months. Rebecca had grown restless, spending long afternoons alone in the mansion. Jonathan noticed her mood shifts. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. It started small, simple conversations while he drove her into town. She asked about his life, his childhood, his dreams. He was cautious at first, but her warmth made it hard not to open up. Soon, their drives became more than just silence filled with engine noise. They became a place for connection. One evening, after dropping her off from a charity event, Rebecca asked Jonathan to join her for a drink in the garden. He hesitated. It wasn't his place, but she insisted with a soft smile, saying, "It's just company, Jonathan. Nothing more." They sat under the twinkling garden lights, sipping wine, talking about everything from books to travel. She confessed how lonely she had become, how her husband's world didn't have much room for her anymore. Jonathan listened, and when she laughed at his stories, he saw a glimpse of the woman she had once been, full of life. It didn't take long for the bond to deepen. Their conversations grew more personal, their silences more loaded. What had once been glances in the rear-view mirror turned into lingering looks that neither of them dared to acknowledge. Then one night, after driving her back from a late dinner with friends, Rebecca leaned in a little closer than usual as he held the door open. Her hand brushed against his, deliberate, soft, and unmistakable. Jonathan felt the world pause in that moment. He should have pulled away, reminded himself of the boundaries. But instead, he held her gaze just long enough for both of them to understand the unspoken. From that night on, their relationship became something neither of them could resist. It wasn't reckless passion. It was a slow, careful unraveling of restraint. Rebecca would ask Jonathan to accompany her on errands that didn't require a chauffeur, just so they could share stolen moments together. A trip to the countryside under the pretense of visiting an old friend turned into an afternoon, walking hand in hand through quiet trails. Their secret grew with each day, hidden behind polite smiles and the polished life they both played roles in. But secrets always come with shadows. Jonathan knew the risk. If anyone discovered their closeness, it would not only cost him his job, it could ruin Rebecca's reputation entirely. Yet, when he looked into her eyes, he saw someone who needed him, not just as a driver or confidant, but as a man who reminded her she was still alive, still capable of being loved. One autumn evening, after weeks of secret meetings, Rebecca confessed, "I don't know what I'm doing, Jonathan. All I know is that when I'm with you, I feel like myself again." Her voice trembled, and Jonathan took her hand, steady and sure. He told her he understood, that he wasn't asking for anything she couldn't give. What they had might have been hidden, but to them, it was real. The affair carried on through whispered conversations, secret smiles, and nights that neither of them wanted to end. Rebecca's world remained polished and untouchable to the outside, but in Jonathan's presence, she let her walls fall. She would laugh freely, talk openly, and sometimes just rest quietly with her hand in his, grateful for the kind of intimacy she hadn't felt in years. Eventually, the weight of their secret began to press harder. Rumors swirled among the household staff, and Rebecca grew anxious that Mr. Whitmore might catch on during one of his rare returns. Jonathan, too, worried, but the bond they had created wasn't built on impulse. It was a connection too deep to simply walk away from. One night, as the city lights flickered outside the car windows, Rebecca whispered, Maybe one day, when things are different, we won't have to hide anymore." Jonathan didn't respond right away. He only reached for her hand, holding it gently, silently promising that no matter what the world thought, their secret would always be theirs. Their story wasn't about scandal or betrayal. It was about two people who found each other in the unlikeliest of circumstances, filling the emptiness left by lives that had demanded too much silence. Jonathan remained her chauffeur. Rebecca remained the untouchable lady of the house. But in their private world, away from watchful eyes, they were simply two hearts that had chosen each other in secret. And so, the chauffeur and his madam carried on with their affair, careful but unashamed, knowing that some connections, no matter how hidden, leave marks that can never be erased.